Deciding that you're not going to have children because you have suffered and you don't want your children to suffer like you have suffered is selfless. It is not selfish to think for the unborn. It is not selfish to realize that you have not been able to do much to change your situation. So if you have a child, your child will have to go through the same things that you've had to go through. That is not selfish. That is selfless. Especially in a world where people are being encouraged to have children, especially in a world where people are demonized for not having children. You have to understand that there will be a lot of people who will blame you for not having children. There will be a lot of people who will say that you are selfish for not having children. There will be a lot of people who think that there is something wrong with you for not having children. So you being able to think for the unborn, that is selfless. You cannot tell me that a person who does not want to have children because they don't want them to suffer is selfish. People in general want to have children. We grow up wanting to have children, most of us. So being able to realize one day that, hey, I have suffered, and if I have a child, my child is going to suffer like I have suffered. So it is not a good idea for me to have a child. That comes from a place of love, because you're not just thinking about yourself, you are thinking about the child. You are thinking about how the life of your child is going to be. You are thinking about the future. What is actually selfish is to have children because you want to leave a legacy, because you don't want your bloodline to stop with you, because you think that you are so special that you must make copies of yourself. That is selfish. What is not selfish is realizing that we live in a world of suffering. We live in a world where the things that we have been told are not really true. We've been sold a lie. Growing up, we were told that this world is good. It is okay to chase your dream. You can be anything that you want to be. Things are going to work out in the end. I've heard people saying that if you suffer a lot when you are young, things are going to work out for you in the end. And if things go well for you when you are young, you're going to suffer in the end. But that's not how the world works. You can suffer your whole life. You can suffer from the day that you're born. You can suffer from the first day you came here until the day that you die. Even if you live a long life, you can suffer your whole life. It doesn't matter if your life is long or is short, you're going to suffer. I know people who have suffered their whole lives. So being able to think for the unborn, that is good. That's what we want in this society, because that's the best way to minimize suffering. A lot of people who are suffering in this world, they're not suffering because they've made bad decisions. They're suffering because there are people who decided to have them even when it was not best for them to have them. You see, even though they were not ready to have children, even though they didn't know enough about raising children. If you're going to do something when you're not ready to do it, of course, there's going to be a lot of setbacks. Things ain't going to go as planned. So if you're going to do something, you must be sure that you are ready to do it. If you're going to make a big decision like having a child, you got to make sure that you are really ready. You are ready financially, meaning that you know that you can take care of your child. You'll be able to give them the life that they deserve. You cannot say that even if your child suffers, they will grow up. It does matter that they grow up to actually love the experience. They shouldn't suffer because you were too selfish to realize that if you don't have enough, you're not going to be able to give them the kind of life that they deserve. Most people grew up suffering. Most people are traumatized and don't even know that they're traumatized because their parents had them even though they were not ready. You got to make sure that you know enough about children to be able to raise them. Most of us were raised by people who didn't know how to raise children. It's like they were practicing. Like they didn't really know what they were doing. They were experimenting, and you know, which is we were able to grow up, but then we went as we could have been, right? We didn't grow up to become what we could have become. We're traumatized. We just had to survive since we were young, and yeah, we became what we became because of that. That is wrong on so many levels. I really love people who are able to think for children, people who are able to think about the future, people who are able to put themselves in the shoes of children. See, things are not very promising in the world. When you look at the way things are happening in the world, it's not easy for you to be optimistic unless you do not know enough about the things that are happening in the world. So, if you see that you do not have enough to be able to take care of a child, if you see that you are suffering and that means that your child is going to suffer, if you see that you do not know enough, if you see that the world itself is it's not good, like there are a lot of bad things that are happening in the world, and you decide that you're not going to have a child because of that, you are selfless. No one should make you feel like you are a bad person. It's actually scary that there are people in this world who think that people who do not want to have children because they have suffered and they do not want their children to suffer are evil. There are people who think that. There are people who will say that you are evil for thinking about the unborn. There are people who say that you are selfish for thinking for the unborn. That is scary because there is no logic that actually support their statement, right? If a person says, "Oh, you are evil for not wanting to have kids," like what logic supports that? The truth is that people who don't want to have children because they don't want their children to suffer like they've suffered are selfless because they are thinking about someone else. They're not just thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about the benefit of having children. See, they are thinking about the child. What will the child go through in this world? It matters that your child gets to enjoy this life. You mustn't be so biased towards life that you think what is important is that they get to exist. Like that's what is important. The most important thing is existence itself. What makes existence important is enjoyment. You don't want to exist while you're suffering. The truth is that if you were in deep enough pain, you would think that life is a net negative. Like you wouldn't really want to exist. But if you enjoying life, you'd want to exist because you're enjoying life. So it's not just about existing. It's about enjoying life. Are you enjoying this life, or are you suffering while existing? There's a reason why people fear hell. There's a reason why Christians believe in their God. There's a reason why they pray and ask for forgiveness. They believe that they won't really die in the end. Whether they believe in God or not, whether they do the things that God wants them to do or not, they believe that they won't die in the end, but they don't want to go to hell. I know that each and every person who's here would rather die than go to hell. I mean, I don't think heaven is better, but you know, if hell is a place of torture, then people would rather be in heaven than being in hell. They'd rather be in heaven worshiping God, even if they don't believe in Him. But they'll rather worship Him so that they don't burn in hell for eternity. So this proves that it's not just about being conscious and being alive. It's about being able to enjoy your life. That's why we value life. That's why we value existence. We don't value existence just for the sake of existing. That's not why we value existence. So it matters that when you bring a child, that child doesn't get to experience hell. That child actually gets to enjoy their lives. That child actually gets to love the experience. So if you realize that your child is not going to love the experience because you did not love the experience, so it's actually logical to think that your child is not going to love the experience if you did not love the experience. So if you are able to see that, then it is actually logical to decide that you're not going to have a child because you do not want them to suffer like you have suffered, because it's not even necessary for you to have a child. It's not like if you do not have a child, then life itself will stop existing. It's not like if you decide that, oh, I'm not having children, life will stop existing. It's not like your children are needed in this world. It's not like someone is going to punish you for not having children. Some people act like they will be punished for not having children. And some people pray to God every day. If they can't have children, they'll pray every day. They will go to different doctors and different sangomas. They will do anything to be able to have children, to be able to have their own children. See, what they want is to make copies of themselves. Because if really it was about having children, they will just adopt. If it was about giving a child a good life, they will just adopt. You see? Think about it. If you think that this world is good and there are children who are already suffering, why don't you just give them a good life by adopting them, because you think that you will be a good parent and you'll be able to love them and make their lives easy? Why do you think that bringing your own child into this world is a good idea? You think it's a good idea because you want to make copies of yourself. See, the only reason why people want to have children is to actually make copies of themselves. I saw a post on Facebook from someone. It said, your parents don't love you, they love their child. If you weren't their child, they wouldn't love you. If you were their child and they didn't know you were their child, they wouldn't love you. You see? So it's about making copies of yourself so that you will tell other people that this is my copy. This is a mini me. That is what is actually selfish. What is not selfish is realizing that the world is a cruel place and things are not becoming easier. Things are actually becoming harder than they used to be. So being able to realize that your children are not going to enjoy their lives if things keep on getting worse, and it's actually better for you to not have them. That's that shows that you have compassion. That shows that you are able to think for other people. You don't just think for yourself. You don't just think of what you can benefit. You don't just think about what you want. This is what I want. I want to have children because babies are cute, and they're going to make my life meaningful. Because my life is meaningless right now. If I have a child, then my child is going to make me happy. It's about you. Do you understand how selfish that is? Like, it's about you. It's not about the child. You don't even ask yourself if you are a good person. Am I a good person? Am I not a psycho? Because some people are psychos and don't even realize they're psychos. You don't try to, look deep within and see if there isn't anything wrong with you. But you have a child, and that child will have to deal with you. They won't have a choice. They can't dump you. Like, if you're in a relationship with an abusive person, you can easily dump them and find another person. But you can't dump your parent, especially when you're a little kid. You have to deal with them. So even if your parent is a psycho, you have to deal with them. Some parents don't even look at themselves and see if there's nothing wrong with them, and see if they will actually be able to give a child the kind of life that they actually deserve. They don't look at themselves. They pretend as if they are good. It's like it's hard for people to see their own faults. That is why a lot of adults are traumatized. A lot of adults are traumatized because they were raised by people who are not actually capable. They were raised by people who didn't know what they were actually doing. It's just that human beings are resilient. We go through hell. That is why everyone is crazy. If you ever met a sane person, I never met a sane person. Say everyone that I meet is crazy. Everyone that I meet has issues. We weren't raised right. The people who raised us didn't know what the heck they were doing. A human is a complex creature. A human is a very complex creature. So it does matter how you raise it. If you don't raise it right, then a lot of things are going to go wrong. And you find that you are the problem. You've always been the problem. You see people doing a lot of things that don't make sense when they're older, and you blame them. Blame their parents. It matters how they were raised. The truth is that some of these people who are doing horrible things, if they were raised by different people, they would be fine. Like, they're traumatized. We are what the world conditioned us to be. So it is good to look at yourself. Ask yourself, will I be a good parent? Will I be able to love a helpless child that's going to need me 24/7? Your child is going to need you 24/7, especially when they are young. They're going to cry. You shouldn't be angry. I hate it when I see a parent angry at a child that's like 5 months old. Why should you be angry? Didn't you know that your child was going to need you? Like, there's something wrong with you if you're going to be angry at a child that's 5 months old. right? There's something wrong with you, because you know beyond any reasonable doubt before having a child that your child is going to need you 24/7. You're going to have to wake up at the middle of the night sometimes and have to feed your child. You're going to have to wake up in the middle of the night because your child is crying, and you won't know why they are crying. You just have to try to calm them down. It's your job as a parent. That's what you were signing up for. That's what you were signing up for when you ejaculated. That's what you were signing up for when you opened your legs. That's what you were signing up for when you decided that you were having the baby. I mean, you could have aborted, but you still decided that, hey, I'm keeping the baby. That's what you were signing up for. So you can't be mad at the child for crying because they didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to be burdened with existence. You see? So that child will need you. That child will need you forever. They're gonna need you until they die. That's the thing. And I must also realize that you don't know when you're going to die. Right? You must realize that you don't know when you're going to die. You can have a child today and die tomorrow. You can die while giving birth. You can die while your lady is pregnant. Like, things happen in this world. Life is unpredictable. We don't know what life is. We don't know why we are here, why we die, why we die the way that we die, why some people die when they're young, why some people die when they're old. We don't know. So you must consider everything. You mustn't just think about now. What do I want now, without looking at the consequences. You see, people don't think about the consequences. They only think about what they want. This is what I want now, so it's all good. I don't care about the consequences. No, you must care about the consequences. You must care if you live in a one bedroom apartment. You must care. Like, hey, what am I going to do with my child? What if they grow up and I'm still living here? What if I can't change my situation? Do you know how hard it is to find a job, a good job? I mean, yeah, you can find any job, yes, but I'm talking about a good paying job, a job that you're going to like, a job that's not going to make you go crazy. Because if you are working a job that you do not like, then you're going to be abusive towards your children, you know. If you don't like your job and you're always fighting with your co-workers and your boss is giving you shit, when you go back home, you're going to mistreat your children because you're mad, you're angry. Because, well, you got to take it all out on someone, and you can't take it out on your boss because you're going to get fired. So you got to take it out on your children. So you're going to traumatize your children because you're not thinking about the consequences of your actions. So you can't tell me that if a person decides that they're not going to have children because they are able to see what they are going through now, they are able to acknowledge what they are going through, they're not lying to themselves. You see, they're not very optimistic. They might not necessarily be pessimistic, but they won't lie to themselves. There's no reason for me to be optimistic. I'm a very intelligent person. I'm very confident when it comes to my intelligence. I know that I can do a lot of things that a lot of people cannot do. But I cannot be optimistic. I cannot think, oh well, 10 years from now I'm going to be having all the things that I want. I don't know. Maybe 10 years from now I'll be homeless. Like, that can happen. That's actually possible. Even if I'm doing the right things. You see, life is unpredictable. So I cannot be optimistic, so optimistic that I decide that I'm going to have a child. Do you understand that requires the highest level of optimism? Like, having children, that requires the highest level of optimism. You got to be so confident about the future. You know, you had to be thinking that, oh, things are gonna work out. Things are gonna work out. But do you really think that things are gonna work out when you look at where we are headed as a collective? When you look at the struggles that we're facing now as a collective, when you look at the struggles and the challenges that young people are facing, do you really think that the future is bright? Do you really think that the future of your children is bright if you have children? Or if you don't have children, you should actually be happy. You should actually be proud of yourself. And if you have children and you're not going to have more children, you should actually be happy and be proud of yourself because you were able to realize that it wouldn't be a good idea for you to have more children. There ain't that many people who actually qualify to have children, to be honest. That is why things are not really working in the world. Everyone is crazy. We weren't raised by people who qualify to be parents. To qualify to be a parent, you must know how the human brain works, you know? You must have studied psychology. You must know that, oh, my child behaves like this because of this. Oh, my child is saying this because of this. You know what I mean? Some parents don't even know shit. They don't know what to do when their child is crying. They don't know what to do when that child is complaining about something. They don't know what to do when that child is depressed. You know, some parents, when that child is depressed, they will make that child more depressed. Why are you always complaining? Why are you always in your room? Why ain't you doing this? Why ain't you doing that? They don't even know how to communicate with their children. So their children grow up traumatized because they weren't raised by people who knew what they were doing. You see, trauma damages people. It really does. If you grow up damaged, you're not going to be able to function the way that you need to function as an adult. Even if you try, some of y'all are too broken. You know, no one can fix you. You're too broken. You were raised by people who didn't know what the heck they were doing. And most people don't know what they're doing. So most adults weren't raised by people who knew what they were doing. Some adults were lucky enough to be treated well by people that they were not living with. Because sometimes if you're living with parents that are abusive, but then when you're not with them, other people are treating you well, you know, that helps. That really helps. But some people, well, the world did not love them. They weren't treated well by their parents. They were not treated well by the world. Like nothing really worked out for them. They've been through hell since they were little. And who's to blame? Their parents. See, I will understand if you decide to have a child and you know beyond a reasonable doubt that you be a good parent. You know how smart you are. You know that you are financially ready. You know that you live in a good place. You know that you and your wife or your husband have a good relationship. You know that things are good, right? You know that everything is good. You know that you are healthy, because that counts too. Like you know that you are healthy. You know that there's not history of certain illnesses in your bloodline. Like you get. You know that you're sharp mentally. Like, I would understand, but I'm telling you, more than 95% of people who are having children, they got issues. Like, for real, more than 95% of people who are having children have issues. Is that's the problem. And on top of that, things are not looking good in the world. So more than 95% of people who are having children have issues, and things are not looking good in the world. So what are we really doing? Ain't we traumatizing our children? Ain't we giving our children hell unnecessarily? Because there's no reason for you to be like having children, because no one is forcing you to have children. It's not like the government is knocking at your door like, hey, 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 why are you not having children? You see, if you don't have children, you're going to get arrested. If you don't have children, you're not going to get these benefits. If you're not going to have children, you're no longer going to be a citizen of this country. It's your duty to have children. You have a responsibility to have children. No one is knocking at your door and saying that. You can live a child-free life until you die. That's like, that will work. And, well, things will actually be much easier for you because you won't feel guilty. Right? I have nothing to feel guilty about. I have nothing to feel guilty about. Even when things are not working out in the world, I don't feel guilty. I don't, someone asked me to talk about climate change on the last live that I had. Like, I don't really care about climate change because I'm not having children. I don't care. I don't care what's going to happen 50 years from now. I'm not having children. I don't know what you're thinking. Well, if you don't care, that means that having children is good because you would care. Even if I did care, there would be nothing that I can do. You see? I'm able to see that there isn't anything that I can do to make an impact. I'm small. People who are very optimistic will be like, oh, if you do things that are good, that's gonna lead to, a lot of good things happening in the world. You must cause a ripple effect. Blah, blah. Like, nah, man. Like, we are a collective. One man cannot change the world, because no one man can have all that power. Like, one person cannot change the world. It doesn't work that way. We all need to change ourselves. We all need to think the way that we need to think to be able to change the world. You see, if you want to change the world as an individual, if you just want to suffer from depression, that's what you want, because you can't change the world as an individual. And you realize that when you're trying to talk to people about what is going on, you realize that motherfuckers don't want to change. You'd realize that people are comfortable, with the bullshit. So being optimistic ain't really gonna help you. Now, it gets to a point where being pessimistic is actually good. And when you think about it, being pessimistic is actually good, because you're not gonna make unnecessary mistakes because you're pessimistic. Because you're looking at what's going on and you're like, hey, I'm not sure if things are gonna work out. So nope, I'm not having children because I'm not sure how things are going to work out. I'm not gonna gamble with someone's life like that. Nah. Because chances of things like really going well for that person are few. Like, it's possible, but chances of things going well are few. It's gonna be like winning the lottery. Like, it'll get to to a point where it will be like winning a lottery. Like, things going well for a person is more will be more like winning the lottery, because things are becoming bad. So when people tell you that you're selfish because you don't want to have children, tell them that nah, you're just thinking for the child. They're the ones who are selfish because they're thinking about themselves. Because there isn't a person in this world who will have a child for selfless reasons. Each and every person who's having children, they are having children for selfish reasons. It's about them. It is not about the child. And that is a fact. See, it is about them, not the child. So internatalists are the people who are actually thinking about their child. See, they ain't thinking about themselves. It's not like as an internatalist, I care much about what's gonna happen to me in the future. I'm 30 years old. Most of the things that I used to want when I was young, I don't want these things. Yes, there was a time when I used to want to be very rich, but now I don't really care about becoming very rich. I don't care. There was a time when I was a child where I wanted to drive a Maserati. I mean, I didn't know that there was a car called a Maserati when I was young, but I wanted to drive nice cars when I was young, but now I don't care. No, I don't care. I don't care if I never get to own a car. I don't care if I never get to travel the world. I don't care if I don't ever become famous. I don't care if I don't get to have half of the things that I want, because the older the older you become, the more you stop caring. You care a lot when you're younger, but as you get older, you care less. Plus, I have seen a lot. I have seen a lot, so I don't really care that much. So this is not about me. When I make videos, this is not about me. It's about the children. You see, it's not like me making these videos and complaining is really going to make my life better. You see, what I care about is the children themselves, children that are going to be born in this world. I don't want children to live in a world where people do not think critically. I don't want them to come into a world and not be able to think critically. I want these videos to exist online forever, because there will be time where people will need these videos. I'm ahead of my time, bro. So there will be time where people will need these videos. There will be time where people will be sitting in their bedroom watching these videos. Like, hey, I wanna watch videos from Benedictines, the truth. They'll be chilling with their children, just watching my videos. Like, no, but I'm serious, man. Like, things are becoming worse. So of course, people will start to realize that no, it was never a good idea to be having children. You see, that's the thing. Like, people are going to realize that it was never a good idea to have children. They will be forced to think. Like, people will be forced to think, because, well, if you don't think, then you're going to suffer more, and your children are going to suffer unnecessarily. It's not like just because parents are having children for selfish reasons, they don't love their children. They love their children because they are their children, right? So they will love them because they are their children. So, of course, when their children are suffering, they will be suffering too, because they will realize that their children are suffering because of them, and they are helpless. Can you imagine seeing your child suffering and you do not know what to do because you are helpless? You want things to work out for your child, you want things to be better for your child, but nothing seems to work. You see your child struggling. You see your child struggling. You see your child, um, struggling, trying to, pass at school, but they can't. Things are hard. And you know that if they don't make it through school, then they don't have a chance. See, that's the thing. Like, I can imagine how painful it would be if I had a child, and the only way that their child, I knew that the only way that their child can make it is through school. They have to like make it through school, get a qualification, find a job, but they can't make it through school. Like, things are not going well for them at school. No, being able to see that this child is not going to survive. This child will have to suffer for the rest of their lives because of me, because of my selfish ass. Because I decided to make copies of myself, thinking that I'm special. So if I make copies of myself, then these copies will be able to conquer the world. Because I think that's how the human animal has been programmed to think. You're trying to make copies of yourself so that these copies of yourself will conquer the world, so that you'll feel proud, because you want to feel proud. Like a proud dad watching his only son that made it. Not ether. You want to feel proud, man. You want to feel proud. That's why some parents hate their children, who have not made it. They don't feel proud. Some parents will disown their children. But if you make it, bro, your parents will be proud of you. Even if you don't really take care of them, even if you don't really talk to them, they'll be proud of you. I remember I watched the video from Joe Rogan's father. One of the funniest videos that I've ever watched. Like his father and his sisters. So they were telling him that he must come back home. They were telling him to come back home, and they were saying that all the things that he said about his father are not true. Because he said that his father was abusive. So like, nah, all that is not true. They're proud of him. But if he was some homeless dude, no one wouldn't care. It wouldn't be like, hey, come home, son. Like, nah. I was able to see that they're selfish. So of course they wouldn't care if he was homeless. But now he's a millionaire. So they're like, hey, you know, we gotta get some of those millions. It's not just about the millions, but they want him in their lives because, well, he's great. He's known all over the world. See, so they're proud. I'm sure Joe Rogan's dad talks about him every time when he's with these drunk friends, you know, drinking, watching the UFC. Like, yo, that's my son. That's my son right there. And they're like, dude, we know that's your son. No, I just had to say it. Like, that's my son. Yo, humans are something else, man. It's hard for me to feel proud of humanity. It's hard for me to feel proud of humanity. It's hard for me to look at humanity and be like, hey, we we are a great creation. Like, we something else, man. And we have big egos. And we not able to see things as they are. We see things in a way that's gonna benefit us. That is why it's easy for some people to say that you're selfish for not having children. Calling women selfish. You see, it's women who will actually be blamed for not having children. Like, it's men. not so much. Like I haven't been blamed that much for not having children, but I know if I was a woman, everyone would be blaming me for not having children. Like, hey, you don't have a child, But as a man, I mean, I know that some people don't know that I don't know they have a child. They would just, I mean, they just you don't just know that a man does not have a child. I mean, there are a lot of men out there who have children, but people have never met the people who are in their lives have never met their children. So yeah, but women are pressured to have children in our society, and men will hate them for saying they do not want to have children. Men will try to make them feel bad for not wanting to have children. Like, no, man. Let people be. Let people live their lives. You know, if I was a woman, even though I was not an internationalist, I don't think I would want to have children. I remember growing up, I would always ask myself, why are women having children? I mean, that's painful. Like that's painful, man. Like these people have to go through a lot, and they have to raise the child. Like that's painful. Why do they have to go through all of that? I mean, as a man, I would just ejaculate and feel pleasure. It's not like I'm gonna suffer, but it's the woman that's going to suffer. It's the woman that will have to raise the child and go through hell because they're raising the child. Like that's messed up. I wouldn't want to go through that. I would just do my thing. I wouldn't want to carry something for 9 months. Like 9 months, bro, that's a long time. And it keeps getting bigger. So it will be small in the beginning, but it'll get bigger and bigger. And I won't even know what I'm carrying. See how best up there is like you won't even know if you are carrying a healthy baby. You won't even know if that baby is not a pedo. Imagine carrying a pedo for 9 months. Isn't that messed up? Imagine carrying someone who's gonna end up shooting up a school for 9 months, and everyone is gonna blame you. Like, hey, you the one who brought this thing into the world, so it's your fault, and you didn't raise it right. That's why it didn't see anything wrong with shooting up a school. You see, that's horrible, man. Why would people want that? There's a lot to lose. So if I was a woman, I would be like, nope. I'm just gonna pursue my dreams. I'm just gonna try to do what I want, try to enjoy life in some ways. Try to make some money, get my things in order. So, there are also selfish reasons to not have children, and because having children is selfish, even if a person is not having kids for selfless reasons, that is still good. See, that is still good because you can never have a child for a selfless reason. It's never happened. I mean, the only woman that's ever had a child for selfless reason was Jesus' mother. I mean, if that was true, I mean, it's not true, obviously, but if that was true, she would be the only person in history who's had a child for selfless reasons. But I mean, actually, nah. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, actually, I mean, God's child, she wanted to have God's child, so of course it was in. Like if the devil, approached him and he said, "Yo, I want you to kill my child," like she would have been like, "No." So it was still for a selfish reason. It was God's child, so she knew she's gonna get the clout. Like, yeah, man, people are gonna be talking about her. Like she carried God's child. Like she's special. So you can never really have a child for a selfless reason. But you can decide to not have a child for a selfless reason. Even though some people can decide to not have a child for selfish reasons. You see? I can decide that, hey, I don't want to have children because I want to travel. I do not want to have children because I want to pursue my music career. I want to pursue I want to pursue a music career. I want to enjoy life. I want to be able to afford the things that I want. I don't want to be taking care of someone else. But I can also say, hey, I don't want to have a child because I think the world is messed up. I do want to have a child, but the world is messed up, so I'm not going to have a child. So the reason why I'm not going to have a child is not because I do not want to have a child. The reason why I'm not having a child is because the world is messed up and I can see that things are not going to change. I mean, even if there was a chance that things, were going to change, but I wouldn't be that confident. I wouldn't look at it and be like, hey, just because there's a chance that things are going to change, I'm going to have children. I'll be like, no. That's how internalists think. That's how internalists think. That's how a person who's full of love and compassion thinks. They don't just think about themselves, they also think about others. They also think about how their actions affect others. I think that's what's lacking. People do not have compassion, people do not have empathy. See, people just think about themselves. It's all about I all the time. So if you are able to think for yourself, you is special. You is something else. You are something else because that's a very rare trait. Empathy is a rare trait. The reason why we fight with one another, the reason why there's wars, lack of empathy. You're unable to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You're unable to see things from the perspective of another person. So you only see things from your own perspective. You only see things in a way that's going to benefit you, not how it's going to benefit them. So, every action that you take that action because you think that you're going to benefit, not that someone else is going to benefit. It's sometimes because human beings are so delusional. You think that you are full of love, and the reason why you do certain things is because you are doing them because you're full of love. You don't even realize that what you call love also comes from a selfish place. What humans call love is comes from something selfish, from a place where you know, from a place of selfishness. It doesn't really come from pure place. It doesn't come from a place of selflessness. It comes from a place of selfishness. Like, hey, I like what that person has, so I love them. Or I like how that person looks, so I love them. Oh, look at that guy. He's 6'5". Oh, I love him. Oh, look at this one. He's 5'4". Get the fuck away from me. You fucking midget. No, that's not love. That is not love. Because if the same person who's like 6'5" magically became short, you wouldn't love them. So, you see, it's not love, but we'll be like, oh, it's love, it's love. If you love someone because they're attractive, that's not love. If you love someone because they're rich, that's not love. If you love a woman because she has a big ass, that's not love. If you love a woman because you have big hips, none of that is love. It's just you being selfish. It's just you thinking about yourself. seems like humans are just not selfless. Like the only way to live life is to not be selfless. I mean, that's not the only way to live life, but it seems like it's so hard to be selfless. So people would rather be selfish. It's because humans will take the easy route all the time. See, they want what's easy. They don't want what is hard. So they'll be like, hey, this is what's easy. So, well, I'm going to take the easy route. I'm not going to suffer because, I care about what's right in the world. No way. I'm going to eat that chicken. I don't give a fuck how chickens are raised. I'm going to eat that chicken because, well, tastes good. I'm not going to be vegan. I love meat. What's wrong with you telling me that I should be vegan? We're selfish, man. This world is cold. This world is cold. People don't care about other people. They don't care about animals. They don't care about you if you're not good, doing good. And if they seem to care about you, they don't really care about you. They just, care about how you going to help them, how they going to benefit from you. It's like everything costs something in this world. Everything costs something. Like for you to get something, you must have something to offer. No one is just gonna give you something for free like that. Like everything costs something. We don't live in a world where we are willing to help one another. We don't live in a world where our people would look at other people and be like, okay, this is how I can help these people. Make sure that their experience is worth it. No, we don't live in a world like that. We live in a world where people are selfish as they come. And they'll look at people and be like, how can I get the most from them? How can I use them? How can I get them to like me, to root for me? See, we live in a world where everyone is selfish, but we pretend as if we live in a world where people want to help one another. We'll even preach love. Yeah, we must love one another. Even people will be preaching love don't even love other people. We must love one another. We must give. We must forgive. But you can't even forgive. You can't even give. Pastors will be preaching about forgiveness, but it's hard for them to forgive. I mean, there are very few people in the world who literally practice what they preached. It's people that we think were really enlightened, like Ramahashi. Like I think he was one of the guys because he was operating at a very high level of consciousness. You know, I think Buddha might have been close, but most humans are just you know just animals, man. Most humans are just animals, and they can't be better than they are. It seems like this is all that they can be. This is all that they can be. I just had to do this because, well, it looks dope, doesn't it? No, it kind of does look dope, man. It's Benedictine is the truth, man. It's important that we try to express ourselves as honestly as we can and share our truth with the world. Like, this is what I think. Take it how you take it. If you think I'm wrong, it's cool. It is what it is. I'm just telling you what I really think. No, at least I'm not lying to you. Whether what I'm saying is true or not, I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you what I think is true. But well, I trust myself because of the amount of work that I have done to understand what I understand. So I'm gonna say what I'm saying is true. I don't think what I'm saying is true. I know what I'm saying is true. Thank y'all, guys.